Oh! Hi-ho, everyone! Kermit the Frog here, and I want to welcome you to our world-famous Sunday gathering. We are so glad you're here. Today, I am joined by my good friends Sandra and Mitch, and our theme today is happiness. Now let's get the show on the road. Over to you, Sandra.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you very much to Kermit the Frog. Today, on our Sunday gathering, I am joined by Kermit and our good friend, Mitch Shirley, who is our medium, our speaker. He's an advanced grief recovery specialist, and most importantly, he is a friend. We're so glad you're here. When I spoke with Mitch about what our theme should be today, and he said happiness, well, that just got all the creative juices flowing, and I reached out to Kermit to see if he would be part of our gathering. He can only stay for a little while, but Kermit the Frog and the Muppets have to be something that's made me happy since I was a little girl. So today you have myself and Mitch. Mitch will be doing our prayers today, our medium demonstration, and our address. You'll have myself and Kermit leading you into the healing section, also the reading and some words for the week and notices. And it's cozy, just us. We're so grateful you're here. And as our Sunday gathering goes along, think to yourself, what makes you happy? And if you'd like to share, we've got that chat box open. We know we have lots of new friends here today, and we also have lots of returning friends here. We've had our Sunday gathering going on just over 4 years, and each week we are together. We really do want to put a smile on your face, give you some inspiration, some joy, a little positive instruction for the week ahead, to have a great week, but also to let you know just how close the two worlds are, our world and the world of the afterlife, which I think we're part of their world as opposed to them being part of ours. So we're going to change things up just a little bit. We're going to have the opening prayer first by Mitch. And instead of going right into the reading, we're going to do the healing first. Like I said, while we have Kermit, he'll be working with me on the healing. So Mitch, if I could turn it over to you for the opening prayer.
Yes, I've just had to switch to my laptop. That's why. Good evening, everybody, or good afternoon for most. Just bear with me one moment. Divine and infinite Father, you have gathered us together this day to share this service, to come together in love, to come together to bring happiness to each other, to come together to be of comfort, to come together to be of service. For in sharing all that we are, and truly being who we are, the true essence of our soul, as we project ourselves upon this earth, if we can find the ability, the trust in ourselves to be the best version of ourselves, this world will only benefit as much as we do, so that we can become the living essence of our soul and our spirit, and truly deliver upon this earth happiness, love, kindness, to actually understand that we are all one. We are all slivers of a greater whole, and in helping one, we help all. So today, let us be joyous. Let us be happy. Let us find something within this gathering that puts a smile on our face, that lifts our heart, that allows us to just flow that little bit better, to allow us to see the beauty of this world, the love that is there for all, to be able to enjoy and recognize within all of us that we are not perfect, but each of us has beautiful qualities that we bring to this earth. And what a beautiful earth that it is. So we thank you for this opportunity. And once more, give thanks. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mitch. Like I said, we're going to go right into our healing today for a couple of reasons. One is Kermit can only be here for a little while, so he's going to join me in the healing. Two, those in the spirit world can use our energy and direct it to where it's needed in the world. And I am a firm believer when we raise the energy, raise the vibration, when we feel good, there's more of that to use. So hopefully by our opening song and the opening welcome by Kermit, you're feeling pretty good. And then also thinking of our dear friends Freddie Mercury and Jim Henson, who created the Muppets, who are now in the spirit world. Just because we transition to the other world does not mean we lose our sense of humor, our sense of play, and our sense of joy. As we send healing right now, just think of those happy thoughts. For me, seeing people healthy, whole, well, situations on the earth healthy and well, and what might help would just be to imagine a little rainbow transforming it all. So I'd like to share now a song by Kermit the Frog. Thank you very much, Kermit. And now for the reading. I read this past week and it just warmed my heart. It's an older story, but it's a true story. It was written by Arnold Fine back in 1984. As I walked home one freezing day, I stumbled on a wallet someone had lost in the street. I picked it up and looked inside to find some identification so I could call the owner. But the wallet contained only $3 and a crumpled letter that looked as if it had been in there for years. The envelope was worn and the only thing that was legible on it was the return address. I started to open the letter, hoping to find some clue. Then I saw the date, 1924. The letter had been written almost 60 years prior. It was written in a beautiful feminine handwriting on powder blue stationery with a little flower in the left-hand corner. It was a Dear John letter to the recipient, whose name appeared to be Michael, that the writer could not see him anymore because her mother forbade it. Even so, she wrote that she would always love him. It was signed Hannah. It was a beautiful letter, but there was no way, except for the name Michael, that the wallet owner could be identified. Maybe if I called information, the operator could find a phone listing for the address on the envelope. Operator, I began. This is an unusual request. I'm trying to find the owner of a wallet that I found. Is there any way you can tell me if there is a phone number for an address that was written on the envelope? She suggested I speak with her supervisor, who hesitated for a moment and said, well, there is a phone listing at that address, but I can't give you the number. She said as a courtesy that she would call the number, explain my story, and would ask them if they wanted to connect me. I waited a few minutes, and then she was back on the line. I do have a party who will speak with you. I asked the woman on the other end of the line if she knew anyone by the name Hannah. She gasped, oh, we bought this house from a family who had a daughter named Hannah, but that was 30 years ago. Would you know where that family could be located now? I asked. I remember that Hannah had to place her mother in a nursing home some years ago, the woman said. Maybe if you got in touch with them, they might be able to track down the daughter. She gave me the name of the nursing home and I called the number. They told me the old lady had passed away some years ago, but they did have a phone number for where they thought the daughter might be living. I thanked them and I phoned. The woman who answered explained that Hannah herself was now living in a nursing home. The whole thing was stupid, I started thinking to myself. Why was I making such a big deal over finding the owner of a wallet that only had $3 and a letter that was almost 60 years old? Nevertheless, I called the nursing home in which Hannah was supposed to be living, and the man who answered the phone told me Yes, Hannah is staying with us. Even though it was already 10 p.m., I asked if I could come by and see her. Well, he said hesitatingly, if you want to take a chance, she may be in the day room watching television. I thanked him and drove over to the nursing home. The night nurse and the guard greeted me at the door. We went up to the third floor of the large building. In the day room, the nurse introduced me to Hannah. She was a sweet, silver-haired old-timer with a warm smile and twinkle in her eye. I told her about finding the wallet, and I showed her the letter. The second she saw that powder blue envelope with a little flower on the left, she took a deep breath and said, "Young man, this letter was the last contact I ever had with Michael." She looked away for a moment deep in thought and said softly, "I loved him very, very much, but I was only 16 at the time, and my mother felt I was too young. Oh, Michael was so handsome." She continued, "Michael Goldstein was a wonderful person. If you should find him, tell him I think of him often." And she hesitated for a moment, almost biting her lip, and said, "Tell him I still love him." You know, she said, smiling as tears began to well up in her eyes, "I never did marry. I guess no one ever matched up to Michael." I thanked Hannah and said goodbye. I took the elevator to the first floor. As I stood by the door, the guard asked me, "Was the old lady able to help you?" I told him that she had given me a lead. At least I have a last name. But I think I'll let it go for a while, I said. I spent almost the whole day trying to find the owner of this wallet. I had taken out the wallet, which was a simple brown leather case with red lacing on the side. Then the guard saw the wallet. He said, "Hey, wait a minute. That's Mr. Goldstein's wallet." I'd know that anywhere with that bright red lacing. That man is always losing his wallet. I must have found it 3 times in the halls around here. "Who's Mr. Goldstein?" I asked, as my hand began to shake. "He's one of the old timers living on the 8th floor. That's Mr. Goldstein's wallet for sure. I'm sure he would have lost it on one of his walks." I thanked the guard and quickly ran back to the nurse's office. I told her what the guard had said. We went back on the elevator and got on. I prayed that Mr. Goldstein would still be up. On the 8th floor, the nurse said, "I think he's still up in the day room. He likes to read at night. He is a darling old man." We went to the only room that had any lights on, and there was indeed a man reading a book. The nurse went over to him and asked if he had lost his wallet. Mr. Goldstein looked up with surprise, put his hand in his back pocket, and said, "Oh, it is missing." This kind gentleman found a wallet, and we wondered if it may be yours. I handed Mr. Goldstein the wallet, and the second he saw it, he smiled with relief and says, "Yes, that's it. It must have dropped out of my pocket this afternoon. I want to give you a reward." "No, thank you," I said. "But I do have to tell you something. I read the letter inside in hope of finding out who owned the wallet." The smile on his face suddenly disappeared. "You read that letter?" "Not only did I read it, I think I know where Hannah is," I said. He suddenly grew pale. "Hannah? You know where she is? How is she? Please, please tell me," he begged. "She's fine, just as pretty as when you knew her," I said softly. The old man smiled with anticipation and asked, "Could you tell me where she is? I want to call her tomorrow." He grabbed my hand and said, "You know something, mister? I was so in love with that girl that when that letter came, my life literally ended. I never married. I guess I've always loved her. Mr. Goldstein, I said, come with me. We took the elevator down to the third floor. The hallways were darkened and only one or two little nightlights were lit on our way to the sitting room where Hannah was watching television. The nurse walked over to her. Hannah, she said softly, pointing to Michael, who was waiting with me in the doorway. Do you know this man? She adjusted her glasses and looked for a moment, but didn't say a word. Michael said softly, almost in a whisper, Hannah, it's Michael. Do you remember me? She gasped, Michael, I don't believe it. Michael, it's you, my Michael. He walked slowly towards her and they embraced. The nurse and I left with tears streaming down our faces. See, I said, see how the good Lord works? If it's meant to be, it will be. About 3 weeks later, I got a call at my office from the nursing home. Can you take a break on Sunday to attend a wedding? Michael and Hannah are going to tie the knot. It was a beautiful wedding with all the people at the nursing home dressed up to join in the celebration. Hannah wore a light beige dress and looked beautiful. Michael wore a dark blue suit and stood tall. They made me their best man. The hospital gave them their own room. And if you ever wanted to see an elderly bride and groom acting like two teenagers, you had to see this couple. It was a perfect ending for a love affair that had lasted nearly 60 years. I love that story. I love that it's true, and it made me very, very happy. So in a moment, we're going to hear from Mitch. We're going to hear the address. But before we do, we have a special song called Happiness by Ken Dodd. So let me play that as you're all feeling the glow from that beautiful love story.
Did they get it right? Yeah, Ken Dodd. That's a part of my childhood. As a British comedian, and strangely enough, as most comedians do, they all try to become a singer, and it's quite strange how so many want to be recognized in that way. But Ken Dodd is well known in this country, and I have it from my own in-laws. He was well known to go into wherever he was actually having his gig. And he was well known to say, as he walked on the stage, right, lock the doors, because everybody's in here till I've finished. And he had such a body of work that they could be in there for up to 5 hours. As a comedian, actually making people laugh, bringing stories up, and all these. He had a lovely way with him, and he had a little troupe, which was called one of his songs was with the Diddy Men, which now obviously people go, oh, that's not right, and this, that, and the other, that how it was. But he had a thing, what he called his tickling stick, and it was like what we call a polishing duster now, which is probably about 18 inches long, and it was anything to actually put a smile on people's face, try and bring some humor into our lives. And when Sandra asked me that, and it was instantly, I felt my stomach turn over, and I just got happiness. And in lots of ways, that very much the projection of that and bringing the reality of that is what Sandra does. She brings a lot of happiness and joy into this world. And as part of that last reading, she will go that extra mile. Just because if I can bring something positive into this world. And for me, those are the people that you want around you. Last night, I was at a family gathering, and it was my cousin's youngest. It was to celebrate her 21st, and her eldest, second eldest brother. It was his 30th. as well. They had a party get together. Sometimes it can be hard to have happiness when you're in a small room and somebody's got a disco going on, and there's no way that noise can go anywhere other than in your ear holes. And I thought, oh my God, I'm getting older, because I saw all my mom and my remaining two sisters of my mom out in the beer garden, sitting there with coats on, like, oh, it's cold out here. But there's no way they could actually cope with being inside. But there was different generations in there, and different ones enjoying different things, but within the same situation. There was the young people in their early 20s, and then people around about the 30 and then older, and then the older generation, as I am now. I have to accept that's part of my life, that I'm a part of the older generation. But to see them having fun and to see them just enjoying the moment. And for me, I've always been a great watcher of people. I've always enjoyed seeing people happy. And I could enjoy the moment, even though it's not me who's having the absolutely brilliant experience, but to actually see someone else and having a moment in their life which brings them absolute joy. And my happiness comes from my family, my wife, my children, and their respective partners. But as much I get joy and happiness from all the fur babies that we've had as well, whether they are within the family, or just certain breeds of dogs I love. My daughter bought a dog just over 12 months ago, and she said to me, will this be your number one fur baby, grand fur baby outside of the family? And I said, why'd you say that? She says, I know you love dogs. She says, but you love this breed more than anything else. You've had 4 of them. That's why I'm having one, because I've grown up with a Rottweiler. And she said, she says, I just love her so much. She's so gentle. She is so loving. She's so sassy, because we've always had females, and all of them have their own way of doing things, and they're all individual. And often there's a lot of inspiration that we can take from the animal kingdom in the fact that they just are. We have no idea how they're thinking and what they're thinking about. But in reality, that's the same with other people. And I have a little saying which I've often trotted out, particularly when somebody's trying to tell me what I'm thinking, which usually gets a very good response from me. And it is to say, please judge me on my standards, not on yours. And often it gets under people's skin. And I'm sorry, I didn't at all mean to upset you. I said, but in reality, if I am to judge you as an individual, I don't know all of your life. I don't know everything that's happened to you that has made you the person that you are at this moment in time. But that doesn't mean you're always going to be the person you are now, and that you've always been that person. And the reading gave us something very important. It's the realization that we have a choice of what we hold on to, what we hold close to our heart, and the hope that things can change for the better. but actually we have to respond to the opportunity when it comes. We have to bring happiness into our life. But it's not an each and every moment of the day. There's been times when when I was working on the steelworks, I wasn't very happy. It was not a pleasant environment. Very noisy, dirty, working shifts, heavy manual work. But there was still things that in each and every day, I could have a laugh with somebody, I could have a smile, and I could have an opportunity to recognize something within that day, within that shift, to actually be happy about, to actually be thankful for, to actually appreciate. And especially when our loved ones are with us, is the important part of recognizing the good and the bad. Because if we can recognize bad behavior in someone, it's actually something that highlights to us how we can be different, how we can change, how we can make a difference in people's lives. Today is the memorial of my dad's birthday. It's the second birthday since his passing last year. And so I went over to my mum's this morning and I've been to the get some flowers to take for her because she has his ashes on the fireplace. I don't know whether it's just to keep him warm or what, but that's where he is. And she's asked and requested that when it's her time, where they can be scattered, and this is probably the only thing that matters to my mum. It's just that they can be scattered together, because in that thought process of herself, that they will be reunited. Now, my understanding is different. My understanding is that at the instance they will be together, because their love was what kept them together, and probably a bit of stubbornness on both sides as well. Because within any relationship, within any friendship, we have to accept that people have faults. But if we can look for the commonness, the unifying fact within all of us, that we are capable of beautiful things, that we are capable of bringing such happiness to this world and to ourselves, but it's our responsibility. We have to look for it. We have to find it. And all week since we had the messages between ourselves with Sandra, so many things have been popping up. Now we know obviously Facebook listens to everything, but little things have been popping up here and there. And I saw a rainbow yesterday. So that touched me in that moment when he brought that up. I thought, yeah, I had my rainbow yesterday and it was beautiful and vibrant. And that's that thing that when you look at that even in where there is temperature drops, the rain comes in, but as it changes, there's that sun hits something and that opportunity, that hope comes in, and it puts a smile on our faces. And that's so much part of life, that when we've gone through an experience, we go, yeah, I managed to do that. I managed to get through that. And however we get through it, it doesn't matter. By the skin of our teeth, that's fine. We've got through it. But what we must always remember is our happiness is our responsibility. It's a gift that we can give to ourselves. We can put a piece of music on, and as we've listened to the different songs and that, or we might listen to a particular part in a film that takes us back to a wonderful moment and puts us in that place of happiness and joy. We can do that whenever we want. But one of the hardest things for us is being able, when we lose someone, to actually find our way back, to be able to speak about them and hear about them and see pictures or hear stories, that we can actually just enjoy the moment of that memory and it being such a loving, beautiful moment that it brings us happiness. Because if we stay on the moment that we don't have them anymore, we've lost that happiness. And if people have brought us happiness and been part of our happiness, I feel it's our duty to ourselves and to them to keep that love and that happiness alive. And as the reading said, it may be many, many years before we actually are aware of them again. But the thing is, we will be. That is so important. There will come a moment when we will be united once more. United in love, united in happiness, but that joy. So if we can find that reality, we can find our own awareness and we can feel their presence in the spiritual sense, but not necessarily in the physical. But you think about it, when we remember somebody, it's what they mean to us. It's the smile that they had, the laughter that they brought, the fact that they protected us. They loved us for who we were. So for me, it's about honoring them by loving ourselves for who we are and remembering them for who they are. My dad's not remembered as a saint because he wasn't one. He's not quite the most stubborn man that I know. That stubborn man that I know is speaking to you now. I'm the most stubborn person that I know. Truly am. And I can and do cut this off to spite my face if I feel there's a need. With my family and those that matter to me and those that I care about, I will show every emotion that I have. I quite readily cry. I don't try and hold it in. I allow it to flow. I want my children and grandchildren to see it's okay to be who you are. I've had 3 daughters and a son. My son understands, because he's told, the same as my daughters are, that I and Kath love them for who they are. They bring us such joy, such happiness. Just being in the same room as them is enough. To hug them elevates it. To share conversation with them, and that they're just natural and they want to be with us, is more than we could wish for, because our children are not ours. They're just on loan. They need to be given wings. It's our job to protect them and help them and give them wings to be who they are and to find their own happiness and whatever brings them joy. So all I wish for all of you is to believe in yourself, to be yourself, to love yourself, and to find your happiness. Thank you.
Mitch, thank you very much. And thank you for sharing your dad, your mom, your family, the dogs, all of it in your heart. Thank you. We love you. Well, as we move on with happiness, now is the time we move into our demonstration of mediumship. And just like Mitch and I represent the nearly 150 people here with us today, from the human side, we'll get a handful of representatives from the spirit world on behalf of all of our loved ones, saying they are part of our lives. Now, I know we've got many new people on our Sunday gathering today and many returning folks, so I just want to run through how our demonstration goes. First of all, Mitch is our medium. He's a long-time medium, just a wonderful guy. He will request from the spirit world with those who wish to work with him. And yes, Mitch came up with our theme today and I fed into it and the rainbows, but I seem to think there's a divine source that's injecting these thoughts within us because they always seem to move so smoothly together. So there's probably no doubt that those in the spirit world might have already figured out who will be working through Mitch on behalf of those in the spirit world, letting us all know that they are by our side and that they still live on and we will see them again. So those in the spirit world will use Mitch's thoughts, his feelings, his memories, maybe even his sense of smell and taste, who knows, to present themselves to him. He will do his best to first deliver some information about the person that is connected with him. And when I say person or people, they are real living people. We're not balls of energy or anything. We're still us, and we still have our sense of humor, as we often see in our medium demonstrations. So he will give a few initial bits of information about the person that is with him from the spirit world. If we want everybody to listen in, be on the edge of your seats, because those in the spirit world know exactly who is watching and listening to our Sunday gathering right now. If you recognize the description of the person that he has as somebody that you know that no longer walks this earth, we want you to press your raise hand button. Now, this is the time where I want everybody to find that raise hand button and press it for me on your device. Yes, I want you to do it. I know you've done it before, but happiness is our theme, and it's going to make me happy if you press that raise hand button. Just practice with it a little bit, how it works on your side. After you raise your hand, it should now say lower hand, and you can press it one more time so your virtual hand goes down. Why is this important, you might ask? Well, because sometimes there's more than one person that can understand the description of the person in the spirit world. So Mitch will continue to work, if necessary, to ideally get it down so there's one person left with their hand raised. Now, the person in the spirit world could be a loved one, it could be a family member, could be a friend, it could be somebody you worked with, could be somebody a little distant. The spirit world works in mysterious ways sometimes, but we do ask that you understand all the information, okay? Like I said, we've got a big group here with us today, so if you can only take some of it but not all, just hold back on pressing your raise hand button until Mitch clarifies a bit more. If you are somebody who works with our medium today, or any medium ever, first of all, I'm going to press a button on my side. You'll get something that pops up on your screen, and it'll be an unmute button. It's not there right now, but it will show up if you're the person to work with our medium. Now, working with the medium, like I say, all we need from you is one of three answers. We're going to let Mitch or any other medium in the world do the work, and you just respond with a yes, no, or I don't know to the information that he brings. Now, he's got big shoulders. He's a tough guy. So if something doesn't fit, be honest. All right, just be honest. No simply means a new opportunity to look for that information and talk to the person in the spirit world. All right, so will you do that for me? Just yes, no, and I don't know for the responses. Now, clearly not everybody's going to get a reading today, and I know everybody's got a little prayer to your loved one saying, oh, please come through. I don't know how they pick, but what I do know is that these folks represent all of our loved ones. And if you listen in close enough, you may just see that, ooh, I could use a little bit of that information myself. And ooh, wow, that's how close they are. They're witnessing me in my daily life. That means my loved ones are too. Absolutely. Pull the readings for you. Just like my reading today and Mitch's address is for the benefit of all. I firmly believe that those in the spirit world have a limited time with us today, and so they'll do their part to bring their happiness. And so the messages will help apply to all. Okay. So that's how it goes. Now, before we do our demonstration of mediumship, we always like to play a song. And Mitch has introduced me to a new song. It's called I Need Never Get Old. It's a little bit of rock and roll. It's kind of a fun video, as these folks on the video seem to get older in it. But while we listen, continue with that happiness and just imagine your loved ones around you right now. Yes, when we're in the spirit world, we continue to learn, we grow, we just explore, but they're only a breath away. They keep one foot in our world. So while they may not be constantly with you, they may be, they can be with you in just a blink of an eye. So just picture them with you, enjoy this song, and then we will be back with a demonstration with Mitch as soon as the song ends. I need never get old. Great songs, Mitch.
They're a band that both Kath and I love, and we've seen them in the summer in the UK, and we saw them the year before, and we were like, as soon as we went, we're like, we've got to see these again. They're just the whole band. There's so much energy, there's so much beauty, and so much that comes from the soul. Where the Nathaniel, when he writes about it, it's from his soul, from his past, from dark places. To get into a place of light. But yeah, it's good fun music, and I recommend them to anybody. There's some absolutely beautiful stuff. So yes, the part of the demonstration. So yes, that helps to lift my vibration because it always gets me to a positive place, their music. So what I am aware of is a gentleman here, and as I was just saying about that music lifting me to a place of positivity, I am aware of a gentleman, and what I'm being shown is a old like box gramophone that's been with the needle putting it on, but where it would have been in the box, and the speaker that was on it and the wooden lid being lifted up. And I do feel as though I have Dad, as I'm aware of this. And I feel that Dad would have enjoyed listening to music, not necessarily that particular type, but I feel as though the music that he was listening to at any moment would actually reflect his mood of where he was at that time, but also times when he was trying to change his mood and lift his mood. So music would have been something that would have lifted Dad, but I don't feel that he was always necessarily capable of expressing his emotions fully. But music helped him to just take that step away. So somebody would understand that. And what I keep seeing, and it keeps coming back to it, is that the case would have been like a light brown, but and then there would have been like the wicked effect on the front of the netting that was coming across the front. But it would have been something that was very important to him, and something that he would have kept in a pristine condition. But that was Dad as well. He liked things to be pristine. He liked to look after things. He liked to buy things that were of quality rather than buying quantity. He would rather make his money, wait a little bit longer, but get what he really wanted as well. So can anybody understand that information, please?
Thank you. All right, friends, if you can understand that information, including the old record player, the old gramophone, go ahead and press your raise hand button, please. All right, we have a few friends with their hands raised. Mitch?
Okay. But I feel as though the listening to the music, and it would have been different. I know that I'm going back as a generational music, but there was often, there would have been songs that would have had a singer, but also a lot of music that wouldn't have had. But what I've just been aware of was the voice of Ella Fitzgerald, and I feel that he would have loved the beauty within her voice, and that would be significant with Dad.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Ella Fitzgerald is Important. Okay, all hands went down. Oh, wait. No, hang on. I spoke too soon. Remember, friends, you take all the information, including Ella Fitzgerald being one of the singers, important to Dad. So we've got Mary and Beth both with their hands raised.
Right. Okay. But can I also, as I'm aware of this, that Dad would have had a nice, comfy chair that would have been sat next to where the music would have been. I feel, and I'm also seeing this like a tan leather chair, but I feel as though there may have been wooden arms that would have come out from the side. But this chair's significant as well.
All right, thank you very much. Mary and Beth, can you both take that chair with that description? Mary has her hand raised. I've got another Mary with her hand raised. If it's all right with you, Mitch, let's
Yep.
hear
Well,
Mary number one.
Mary number one.
Mary number one, Mary L. If you could press your unmute button. No? You know, sometimes it's by accident these hands get raised. What we can do is Mary number two. Let's see where you are. All right. It could have been an accident. Now, Beth had her hand up for most of the time as well. So let's bring in Beth. Beth, if you could press your unmute button. Beth? Usually works here. But as we are in happiness,
Yeah.
Beth, are you able to press your unmute button? Beth S., you have your hand raised. Oh, friends, we have some weird thing going on today. Hi, Beth.
Hello.
Oh, there, we
Hi.
can hear you. Hi, Beth.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was pressing the unmute, but
It's okay.
No,
We
it's
hear
fine.
you now.
So, Beth, you understand this information that I've said about the gramophone record
yes.
player, the chair.
Oh, yes, he had one of the first hi-fis. He said he had a gramophone younger, but I remember that he had a hi-fi stereo and his music was really important to him. He did have a special chair he sat in. It was tan. I don't think it had wooden arms. He did love Ella Fitzgerald.
Right. Okay.
But
That's not good.
his
And would you
music,
understand with your dad that he wasn't, I'm not saying that he's a man that he wasn't somebody who would be really open with his emotions,
yeah,
but he was always gentle with those emotions when he expressed them. Do you understand that?
yes, I do.
Because I know that as he was coming in, I'm like, okay, can you come a bit closer? And he was just wanting to get across the fact that he took his time. He was a gentleman who had patience, and if he had something to think about, particular music he found was very good at just clearing his mind.
Yes,
And that's why I knew this thing about where his mood was concerned. And so it was like integral in his cleansing aspect to bring him to a positive place,
yeah,
to find a solution. Because very much your dad would have been a solutions-based person, not problems. And then that's it. You know, it's push it away and have a look and see what your options are.
yes,
Because it's those aspects of his personality, and even where his own deterioration and his own health was concerned, he could still find happiness in the little moments, and he still enjoyed the little interactions that we have within our lives.
yes,
And family is a very important interaction that I had. That's what mattered to him. But your dad was somebody who didn't need lots of friends.
true.
He
Yeah.
knew lots of people and
Yeah.
would have interaction, but he didn't need friends. What he wanted and what was important to him was his family and the people that
Yeah.
he care about. And I'm aware here that if he could do a good deed, then I'm quite happy to do it. And money it's what we need, but it's not it's not my driver. It's
Yes.
it's very much I need to earn it for my family, but that's part and parcel of the problem. It's more important to be at home and then being in that environment and having fun when we can. And he liked nothing more than actually seeing others having fun and enjoying the moment.
Yes, he did.
So he's very much putting this aspect forward because it's been a bit like tramping through treacle for you recently, and finding the fun and being able to take the moment has been difficult. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Because I saw treacle and then I saw like a swamp, because that's how it's felt sometimes. It's like, oh, I think, oh, it's only ankle deep, and then we're up to our waist. And then next thing we're up to our neck, and it's like, oh. And what your dad's solution was like trying to find something to grab hold of, to hold on to keep that
Mhm.
positive light going. And it's
Yeah.
something that you've always been for other people around you because of how you'd seen the difference that your dad and others made in your life. But he's bringing forward that aspect of himself and wants to make you aware that, because you've asked the question, how many good deeds can you do? And are you selfish to actually wanting one to come back? You understand that?
Can you repeat that? I'm
How
sorry.
you've given many good deeds and helped many others, and
Yeah.
you've actually thought about, well, I could do with a little bit of help myself, but then felt guilty because you've always been the person who's given to others, and to
Yeah.
actually take a little bit back, you felt as though that's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's
Hard.
important that he comes out forward here to say it's not wrong. It's quite normal. We can't do everything on our own. We all need support. We all need to help to get us to be the best version of ourselves, to do the best that we can in this world. But I'm aware here that he comes because he wants to bring you a life jacket to put on. So you know you're not going to go under. You've got this life jacket and you only need to just put a little bit of effort to push you gently forward into the direction. But there must have been memories to do with going to a lake area where it would have gone out on like a single mast small boat when you're going back
Um,
into childhood.
yes, and as a young person,
Yeah,
a small
because
little
I was
sailing.
like, okay, well, I understand the significance of the life jacket, but also what else? I thought there's a memory connected with it, and obviously your dad always wanted to make sure that everybody had everything that they needed to, like, I've closed every door that's possible. Whatever else is something that is beyond my control, but I still need to do it. And that's what I'm aware of with you. You know what you want to do and why you want to do it. He's not making me aware of it, but he's wanting to get that across to you. You know why, and that's what matters.
Okay.
All right. So
Thank you.
he's there to bring that boat, to bring that life jacket, to make sure that when we use the wind, it might not always go in exactly the direction that we look for, and it might not go as quickly as we want it to. But if we do everything right, our side, then it comes to its own natural fruition when the time is right. And that's always the difficult bit. For us, it's never soon enough. But I'm aware of here, Dad had that patience, and that's what he's bringing to you
Okay.
with so much love. And, it's not that I'm saying the words, but I can feel it. And you felt it from your dad.
Yes.
It's important that, yes, it's nice to hear it, but it's important that we feel it and we know it within our own soul. So please know that he's reached out to connect once more with your soul on that level.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, pal. All right. Okay. Well, I'm getting a lot of images that are what I would class as a lot of typical American images. I'm like, okay, well, why? Who the heck's giving me this information? That would help.
We're patient.
Oh dear, they love messing with my head. Right. I am aware of a lady here. Now, I feel with this lady, it feels to me like mum, but I feel that there's a connection to Kentucky with her. I don't know whether, not necessarily that she was born there, but there would have been family. There's a connection going to Kentucky with mum. And the link, or either your mum would have known, but there's some link to people who manufactured a liquid that would broadly be termed maybe as bourbon or whiskey, but I would probably lean more towards paint stripper. But there's some connection in there within the family that they would have known of people who brewed moonshine for whatever that type of. I've got to put as like liquid because it's in some respects it's to actually describe it is not the best thing. But also for mum, I was also aware of the turkey, and Thanksgiving was important. And there would be a birthday that would connect around that time in November, around a Thanksgiving time scale. And it's a birthday as well that would connect either to the person or around mum.
All right. Friends who can understand this information, press your raise hand button. All right. Have to take all the information, moonshine and all, Kentucky moonshine and all. We have Jeff, Stacy, and Deb that have their hands
Okay.
raised.
But I thought the first thing that came and I felt that was important was this connection. It was mum and mum's connection to Kentucky. And I felt as though it was within the family that the production of moonshine and that sort of thing, that's where it was linked.
All right.
So I
Thank
feel
you.
so that's important.
With the family. Okay. Stacy and Deb have their hands raised.
Right. Okay. But also this the birthday around Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving had been a very important event for mum. It was something that she prepped for and put so much effort into, to like almost, it's like a religious aspect to it. That's what Thanksgiving was for her.
All right. We have Stacy with her hand remaining. Thank you everyone else for listening in. Hi, Stacy.
Sandra. Hi, Mitch.
Hi, Stacey. So you understand this with mum with this link to Kentucky.
Yes, my grandmother was more connected to it, but yes, it's her
Right,
mother.
okay.
Yeah.
So it comes on that side of it. And I just got Kentucky. There is like as though there's nothing, but it's significant, but I can't go in loads and loads. But also this
Right.
with the moonshine and producing well, I suppose after you'd had half a dozen shots, it was okay. But like,
It
the
was
first
awful.
few,
Yeah.
yeah. Right, because that's how, I was aware of one lunchtime me and Kath spent once in Crete, drinking
The paint
raki.
thinner was a good description for it.
Yeah,
Paint strip or
yeah,
whatever it was.
yeah. That's how it felt like when it was going down. It's like, oh
Yes.
God. But once you'd had a couple of glasses, no, that's not so bad. But then when you got up, your legs weren't functioning properly, and God,
Oh, yeah.
nothing below the waist moving here. But I'm aware also within that and bringing that, and there's also that sense of fun and humor with your mum as well.
Yes, yes.
And the significance, as I said, I understand for how important it is as a holiday and a recognition, but also that Thanksgiving was important as well because there was this birthday as well around that time.
Yes, my father's.
Right. Okay, that's fine. So you don't, and so, but your dad would have had certain. He had food that he liked to eat, food that he would eat,
Yeah.
and oh my God, don't ever put that within the same room as me.
Oh God, that's where I got it from then. Yes.
Yeah, it's just like no, no, and people go,
Mhm.
"Oh, it's like no, you're okay." And it's I was disgusted when I found out Kath had used broccoli in the gravy. The
Oh,
broccoli, I was like, "Oh God, no!" She says, "Well, you said it was lovely."
I can't do mystery gravy either, so I'm with you there.
Right. So I'm just aware of that, and there's this within your family. It was natural for a lot of laughter,
Yes,
and to try and see the humor in situations.
yes.
But from both of them, both your parents, that ability within their relationship to pull faces at one another, and like not necessarily saying anything, but saying an awful lot. But within that relaxed nature that you grew up in an environment where you were able to express your personality.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, because I feel the reason why I'm saying this is like you don't have to do and believe in everything that I believe in. You've got to find things out for yourself.
That's true, yes.
Okay, because that's the way that, and if we can come and we can find common ground, that's great. And
Mm,
sometimes we have to agree to disagree.
yes.
But with your mum, she might agree to disagree, but she'll carry on mining away underneath. And
Yes, they will.
it's okay. I've got to go mining. I can't do it on the surface now. We can't be all what you know. I've got to be a little bit sneaky about it and find stuff out.
Yes.
And she couldn't. But if somebody crossed her with regard to her family, um, God help them, and any other
Mm,
saint, deity, whatever, help them, because she was. It was important to her to protect her own,
yes, very much.
to stand with her own, and that's sometimes at the fact that your dad would be like almost in a sense like trying to grab hold of her to stop her. Look at like the Tasmanian devil. She's sort of like
Yes,
and that, but that feistiness and that energy is something that you share, and that's shared through the women and the line that you come from.
very much, yes.
You understand that.
I
Uh,
do, yes.
we play nicely until we can't.
Yes,
And it is that thing that with your mum that she comes in that way because at this moment in time, you've been playing with the glove that's on the hand. I'll put it that way. So the velvet glove is wanting, you're still trying to be nice and deal with the situation with the velvet glove, but you
right.
thought, oh, I don't want to take the velvet glove off.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, because that's what she did. Yeah, and she's sort of like plucking at the fingers bit by bit, and it's
Yeah,
like, well, sometimes we just have to embrace the moment, and no, we know it's going to happen. We don't know when, but we know it's going to happen. And that's very much your mum's approach and her way of actually giving advice, where she would bring a scenario in or mention something else of somebody else, and and then just sort of leave it. We'll move on. So she planted that seed. She was very, very good at planting seeds with people to just get them to think for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's important, that she's not making me aware of the scenario, but for her, that you have your own thoughts and you fully understand and accept the responsibility of your actions.
Yes, I understand that.
And that's something that she was comfortable with and you were comfortable with. And because of that, you know the time is not quite right instinctively.
Right. Right.
And you're like, oh, I just want to get through this and just beyond it, because you can see so much more beyond it. But it's like climbing a mountain. You're at that last bit on one side and the clouds are all over the top. You can't see beyond, but you know instinctively that once you get to that summit, which is not far away, you know it's about to change, it's about to alter. And when you get to that summit, that it clears, and then we can see what's in front of us.
Such a good visualization. Thank you.
But you don't need to look what's behind you,
Right.
because you've lived it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because you've lived it, it's important that I just want to put it in the way of how you approach it and within your thought process. It's not about moving on from this scenario. It's about moving forward, because it will always be a part of who you are now.
Wow. Yes.
Not who you were.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's important that we get that across and express it in that way to you.
I just had that conversation with my aunt last night, so that's a very good reminder. It's like, here, yes, listen to her.
Right. Okay, that's great, because I know there's this confirmation that I needed to bring forward and make it with you today. And yet, your mum sort of just done this.
Oh.
She's just in, and that's how I've done. I've finished. And that's how it was when she was baking or doing anything. It's like, right, that's it. Everything's off, right?
Yep.
My time. That's all I've got. And she's moving on to the next thing.
Oh, that's too funny.
Right. So know that she will be there and she will walk through, but also that you will be doing that and go, done, dusted.
Nice. Okay.
Right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. And also she says, then you'll be able to sleep better than what you have been these last few months.
Oh, thank goodness.
All right. So thank you for speaking to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mitch, would you like to do one more?
Yes. Yeah. I was just asking. Okay. Just feeling into this, I just heard something and it wasn't quite clear. I feel as though I've got a gentleman. I feel as though it's brother that I have, and I just trying to clarify. But I feel as though the name or the place of Richmond would connect either with the recipient or with brother. But I also got as well was Richard as well, because that's why I was just trying to work it as I felt into it. I got the significance of Richmond, but I feel as though brother's in the spirit world. And brother would have been somebody who his expression, I'm terrible. If you chop my hands off, I couldn't say a word. But I feel as though there's that aspect with him that he would gesticulate, big word for me on a Sunday, and actually use his hands and that to express who he was, and especially if he became impassioned about something. So can anybody understand that, please?
Thank you. Who can understand that information? Go ahead and press your raise hand button. Now you heard Richard. Does that necessarily have to be his name?
No, it's a name that I feel that would connect either with the person, they would know Richard,
Okay.
or he would have known Richard. But also this Richmond that came from it as well.
All right. Dana, you have your hand raised. Hi, Dana.
Hi. I might need a little more information.
Right.
This may or may not be for me.
Okay. So do you understand brother in the spirit world?
Yes.
Okay. And do you understand the place of Richmond, or whether it's a significant in a street or an area?
I maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Because I just felt as though maybe it was a connection to a particular area. Would you understand the name of Richard as well?
Possibly, yes.
Okay. This is a bit where my head starts spinning around when I get possiblies.
We
It
do
may
have
or may not be for me. I don't know.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Dan.
we do have one more person with their hand
Okay.
raised.
Okay.
And just stay where you are, Dana, and we will sort this out. We have Mary Alice. Hi, Mary Alice.
Hi.
Hi, Mary Alice.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. I brother in spirit. My father's name was Richard. His name was Richard, but they called him Ricky.
Right. Okay. But do you understand this with Richmond?
That I can't quite connect with that. Although there was
Okay.
a town, Richmond, but that didn't mean a whole lot to us. So I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Right. Okay. But would you understand with your brother's personality that I've got somebody who he liked to have fun?
Like to have fun?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, if I can joke about a scenario, then that deflects from the significance and a difficult situation. He would use humor.
Yes.
Right. Okay. That feels better. But I know the Richmond has got to be significant, because, as you said, Ricky, got the Richard, and then got Ricky. And I thought, which is more important? And I got Richard.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the full title, so that's fine. So when you mentioned the Ricky, that felt right to me.
Okay.
But I know. But would you understand this thing when I'm talking about? I mean, because the only way I could take my hands out of it, I'd have to pull them below the screen that I can see, because it's just, I can just see them wandering about all over the place. Some people talk like this, but I gesticulate with my hands and sort of wave them around.
Right.
But would you understand where he would have this, when his enthusiasm and a passion would come through, that he would speak with his hands?
This is embarrassing because I can't quite remember.
Okay.
All I'll say is I don't know, possibly.
Okay. But you understood the other aspect. You'd understand the fun and it's just, when I got impassioned about something, then you knew you'd see him come alive.
Yes.
And what I'm aware of is the fact that he wouldn't just waste that. So he wasn't somebody who was easily impressed about things. He wasn't easily impressed about material things. It was people. He had friends that he'd known for a long time.
Yes, he did.
And that's also important where you're concerned as well, Mary Alice, that this keeping in contact with people, and you've been making an effort recently to actually find out and maybe get back in touch with people who you haven't connected with for different reasons for a long period.
Absolutely. Just a couple days ago.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine. So that's his way of just letting you know that he's around, because he brings that aspect of him and you forward.
Oh, great.
Okay. And the fact is that when you are aware of him, and I said earlier about the thing of actually reflecting on somebody, his good points and his bad points. It's you can remember him and you feel him and know him as who he was. He didn't
Yes.
have to try and make out he was something that he wasn't.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
But it's also important for you to it's difficult sometimes that we need to walk away from things and we need to accept they are what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what he's just making me aware of there. Actually, you know the reality, and this is to talk about something else. Again, he's not making me aware of what it is, but it's
Mm-hmm.
you understand why he would touch upon this and saying, you know what your instinct is telling you,
Mm.
but you're still trying to be so nice about it.
Hmm.
He wouldn't have been.
Probably not.
Because I'm aware of the fact that didn't mean that he got to have a big argument or anything else, but he just vote with his feet and
Mm-hmm.
move away.
Yes.
And this is something that I feel this is his offer of his advice. And when he gave advice, he didn't always give it when he was here in the best way. But like days or a week later, you go, it makes sense. But it was how it made sense in his head.
In his head, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I know that there's a difference between you operate from your feelings
Mm-hmm.
and he operated from his head.
Yes.
Okay. And that wasn't necessarily always a good place that you wanted to go to. Because he's laughing about that because sometimes he could be quite quirky with some of the ideas that he come up with. You think,
Yeah.
how did that make sense? But that was part of him. That was part of the package that he was.
Mm-hmm.
And you've also been reflecting upon different times. And there's been a photograph that you've recently just come across, and a photograph going back, and it reflected you back to a time that you were together.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep, no, that's fine because he enjoyed that as well because it
Yes.
was nice for him even, and this is an important thing
Oh, I'm getting chills. Oh my gosh.
to understand this, that even in the spirit world, we can inspire them by something that we do because they feel that connection, that our soul reaches out to them and it connects with them, and they can be taken back to that moment in time in a significance and see the beauty in that relationship as well as we can. And I feel that's an important message for everybody. That when we do reflect upon our loved ones, that they are sharing that experience with us. And he wanted to bring that back. He's not being gushing, okay? That wasn't him. But he wanted to share that beautiful experience because it touched him in the same way that it touched you. And I want to confirm that to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we just saw one of my sisters just with pictures and family, and we were all young, and all these memories were flooding back to me. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And that was lovely.
Amazing.
That was wonderful for him to share in that.
Good, good.
And he just wants you all to know that.
I'm so glad. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mary Alice.
Oh, thank you so much,
thank you.
Mitch. This has been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers, everybody.
Oh, thank you so much, Mitch. Friends, this just shows that our loved ones really are around. And like Mitch just said, the message for everyone, if we can take that time and go down memory lane with some of those wonderful experiences, it just sends a message to their souls. And you'd be surprised. Sometimes you'll be doing something completely else. And then all of a sudden you'll get a thought or a feeling or a memory. Those are all gentle little calling cards saying, I'm here with you. You know, not everybody turns lights on and off, even though I know some people can figure out how to do that on the other side, but they are with us. They truly are with us. So thank you, Mitch. Find out more about Mitch. We love Mitch and his beautiful wife, Kath, at thesoultrust.com. Kath and Mitch are both mediums, and they're also advanced grief recovery specialists. And once a month, they offer a free, it's called the Grief Cafe. It's just a time to share, learn about grief, be with people that care. It's not recorded. It's done live on Zoom, but that is there for you. And the next one's coming up September the 26th. You can find out at my website, wedon'tdie.com. Just go to the store page. You can click on and register for next week's Sunday gathering if you like, which we have Chris Jacobs, who will be back with us, a medium and speaker, and also the Grief Cafe. Also good things coming up. We've got our new medium classes and psychic classes beginning with our tutors Carrie and Phil. Those start the 25th and 26th of September. They're really good to participate in these. It helps, even you start with psychic and then move on to the mediumship to understand how your soul works. But there's so much support and there's so much wisdom that comes from our souls. And then when you do work mediumistically in the breakout rooms, it's our loved ones that work with us. So I tell you, it's a hidden secret, but those classes, and those of you who have taken the classes, you know just what I'm talking about. They're so nurturing in so many different ways. So there's 6 session classes. They're all recorded, 2 hours each. You get the video replays. You don't have to join live. We have Facebook groups where you can meet people to practice in between. Also, beginning the first week in October, Scott Milligan and I are hosting a class called Trance in the Altered States, a whole different kind of mediumship. This is a time that we really learn to quiet the mind and blend with that gentle love from the unseen world. So there's no breakout rooms there. And like I said, WeDon'tDie.com is the home base. If you don't yet have a copy of my book, We Don't Die, and you do want to find out more about, of course, life, death, and the afterlife, but chapter 10 is about surviving grief. I do know that many of our friends that are joining us today are deeply experiencing grief. And so you can either email me for a copy of that, or at the homepage at WeDon'tDie.com, you can just enter your name and your email address and it'll pop up. It says it's the first few chapters, but it's the whole book. I have 2 new podcast episodes. If you don't yet follow my podcasts, on We Don't Die, I have an interesting conversation with a hospice worker of 20 years, Suzanne Worthley, and her experiences of when people pass, the energetic levels, she calls them. And then on Shades of the Afterlife, I feature your stories. We have a Facebook group. And so many of you were kind enough to put your stories of signs and reasons to believe in the afterlife. So I featured your stories. If you're not part of our Facebook group yet, again, WeDon'tDie.com, there's a little tab that says Facebook group. There's also one that says Sunday Gathering. You can check out past Sunday gatherings, of course, register for upcoming ones, and a shout out to our friends who have donated to our Sunday gathering. We don't pass a plate around, and I don't beg for money, but I can tell you that it does help run the behind the scenes costs. So I do know there's several members of our Sunday gathering here who have been kind enough to donate. And while we never ask, I tell you, we really do appreciate it. So that's at the Sunday gathering page. Before I ask Mitch to do the closing prayer, I just wanted to share a few words of my own about happiness. And I know I've mentioned this before, but happiness is an inside job. And sometimes the last thing we want to do is I don't want to say be happy. We all want to be happy, but we don't want to create happy. You know, sometimes we're just stewing in something. So like Mitch said, when we put on a favorite song, there's this little thing that happens and all of a sudden it takes your mind away, might take you back to a different time. Another thing we can do, and it is a strategy, is we talk to people in our life about past memories, places we've traveled to, things you've done that you love. What was it like when you met your spouse? Or share with them the story from the reading and get people talking about things that have made them happy. And it's interesting because you'll find that all of a sudden it's like a boomerang. What you put out comes right back. Next thing you know, you're thinking about your happiest vacations or what it was like when you met your significant other, or a time you laughed so hard your belly hurt. You know, when we engage in these kind of conversations, suddenly everybody feels happy. So it can start from within. It takes something like gratitude and all the rest. Our human beingness, it often wants to look to see what's undone in life and at the negative. So it really takes something to put in positive, but we can look back and we can create happiness. 24 hours a day, probably not. But I tell you, it does make a difference, and it makes difference to people around you, and it'll come right back to you. So I want to thank you for listening. I'd like to pass it over to Mitch for our closing prayer, and then I've got a special song for you at the end.
Thank you, Sandra. Infinite Spirit, as we all come before you, as we all register our awareness and our connection with each other, we know we are all part of something bigger. Grant us the grace to be able to accept the help when we need it, to recognize that need within ourselves, to accept when love is offered to us. In whatever way, a simple helping hand to help us off the buzz, or a hug. Allow us to express our soul throughout this life, and especially throughout this coming week, so that we can get the practice in to be who we are, so it becomes part of our days, so that we can always be looking for the light, even in the darkness, because we know within that darkness, there is still the essence of who we are, and our spirit and our soul and all of that light and love. It's just waiting to come into the light. And sometimes we need to go there to gather it and to bring it out so it can truly shine in this world. So let all of us go forward and let all of us shine as we walk our pathway and learning and expressing who we are. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mitch. And look who I found. Ha ha! Kermit, as we go into our closing song, we need never get old. And I found from the Young at Heart Chorus, which is made up of 80 and 90-year-olds in Massachusetts, they sing rock and roll songs. So here is Young at Heart singing We Are Never Too Old. Yep, 80s and 90s, and every so often we get a 100-year-old in that band. Thank you all. We love you. Remember, thesoultrust.com is Mitch's site, wedon'tdie.com. We love you. You're never alone, my friends. We'll see you next Sunday, if not sooner. Bye. Thanks, Mitch.